Have you ever been shopping in a store or online and you see some game that you've never seen before and you think to yourself, holy crap, this is going to be really rare one day. I better buy it now while it's still cheap before it gets really expensive. Hey guys, I'm RNG Gamer. I play all my games randomly, and here are 10 games that I bought because I knew they were going to be expensive later. Why spend a couple $100 further down the road when you can just grab them now when they're cheap? Was I right? Was I wrong? I don't even know. I only know how much I paid for these. I'm going to be looking up the value while I'm filming this video. Hopefully they worked out for me. The first Fire Emblem game I ever played was Fire Emblem Awakening on the Nintendo 3DS, and I thought it was spectacular. It was a 10 out of 10 game, and it may be the best handheld game I've ever played, even to this day. So, when the next game in this series was coming out, I was excited about it. They announced there were going to be 2 different versions of the game, one where you follow the good guys and one where you follow the bad guys. And there was going to even be a 3rd version of the game where you played as a neutral party. But that was downloadable content. However, they announced that the collector's edition was going to have all 3 campaigns on the cart. And that was the only way to get the physical version of the neutral campaign. So when it went up for pre-order, you better believe I bought it. And it's Fire Emblem Fates. I thought it was a really good game. I beat the good guy campaign, I beat the bad guy campaign, and I made it about halfway through the neutral campaign before I got bored and tired of it. I thought it was a really good game, but not as good as Fire Emblem Awakening. Not by a long shot. So how much did I pay for this? I paid $93.17 for it. I think the game was probably about $70 or $75, and then I had to pay shipping, and then I had to pay tax. So $93. How much is it worth? Let me check. Holy crap. This is worth $338. Open. Mine's not sealed. I opened it up and played it. That's insane to me. I suspected that this had gone up in value, but I had no idea it was like a $300 plus game. I thought it was gonna be like $150 or so. This is a beloved franchise now, but when it first came out, people were sleeping on it. I did play the predecessor to this, Demon's Souls, on the PS3, and I knew more was coming from that. I knew how good it was. So when they announced this, I went out of my way to get the Day 1 Special Edition, and I had to drive all over town to find a copy of it. And it's Dark Souls, and this is the thick Steelbook edition. Of course, everybody loves Dark Souls now. Everybody's played it, but like I said at the time, people were sleeping on it. I felt like it was going to be rare and expensive one day. It's probably going to be their last game that they put out in this series because I didn't think Demon's Souls sold that well, even though I found out later it was like a greatest hits game. So how much did I pay for this? I paid $66. The game was $60 plus tax, $66. How much is it worth now? Let's look it up. It didn't do as well as I thought. This is only worth $45, which is still, I mean, when you think about it, pretty good for a game that sold like millions and millions and millions of copies and was like a cultural phenomenon and has been released a bunch of other times. So, it didn't do too great for me, but it didn't bottom out. You can probably buy Dark Souls 1, the non-special version, for like $2 or $3. I walked into a GameStop right around the time the Switch came out, and I saw this game for sale, and I saw how beautiful the collector's edition box was. I knew I had to have it, even though I did not get a Nintendo Switch for like many months after picking this up. But it's the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Special Edition. This is a gorgeous box. It's one of the things that the people that come down to the game room are most interested in. I just thought it was beautiful, and I knew people would always want this because it looks so good, even though I hadn't played the game and even though I didn't own a Switch. So that retailed at $100 plus tax. $110 is how much I paid. How much is it worth now? I'm guessing it's be worth a lot more. Let's check. All right, I looked it up. It's $188, which is pretty good. It hasn't quite doubled in value, but it's on its way. It'll just probably keep going up as most Zelda games tend to do. Glad to have that one. I think that one is like worth the $188 as a collector's piece and as a display piece because it looks so cool on the shelf. Before limited run games, before special reserve games, before any of these limited game distributors and developers even existed, there was one PS4 game that was an indie release that had 1,000 copies on release. The guy that made the game put it out himself, and he's the one that started this whole limited run thing. It came from V-Blank Entertainment, and this is the first release of this. And it's Retro City Rampage DX, and mine is still sealed. I've always loved indie games, or since they've been a thing, I've loved indie games, but when I heard that a one-man team that made a game by himself was putting out a physical version of his game, and he was only going to do 1,000 copies, I didn't even know you could do that. I don't think anybody else did either. He put it out on his website, and I bought it. I paid 25 bucks for it. Since then, everybody's come to know about it, and he has reprinted this multiple times. But the reprints are a little different than the original that came out. It's kind of hard to know which one is the original. Like I said, I spent $25 on it. What's it worth now? It's worth 70 bucks. That's what you can buy it for on eBay right now for the first print. There was a time when this was worth like several $100s. I remember when it was the most expensive game in my entire collection. The reprints have really brought it down. He's reprinted it on the PS3 and the 3DS, and it's come out on everything. But when it was the one and the only one, it was a very expensive game. And this original reprint, still limited to 1,000 copies. So I think it's a rare game. It's just been diluted by others. So 70 bucks, not as much as I was hoping for or thinking, but seems about right. Of course, shortly after Retro City Rampage came out, another developer caught wind that you could print your own games from Sony, and you only had to do 1,000 copies. So they decided to put their game out on the Vita. This is the very first game from Limited Run Games. And I knew it was going to be rare and expensive, just like Retro City Rampage was at the time. It's Breach and Clear. I paid $27 for this when it first came out, and yes, I opened it and I played it. At the time, I didn't think having it sealed was going to be worth anything, and I wanted to play it. So how much is the first game ever released by Limited Run Games worth? Let's look. It's worth $215. That's pretty crazy. That's like a tenfold increase for what I paid for it. Who knows how much it'd be worth if it was still sealed? I don't know, 500 bucks or something like that. I have mentioned before that this is the rarest game on the Switch. When I first heard about this, it was like almost impossible to track down, and it was really hard to get somebody from Japan to send me a copy here in the States. I don't know if people have caught on or if they've reprinted it or something, but I'm seeing it pop up more and more now. So I think it's probably less rare than it used to be, or maybe I was just ill-informed. But it's Arcade Love plus Pango. And this has 4 really obscure arcade games. They're kind of like button mashing games, and they're supposed to train you to get better at like tapping buttons and dodging and things like that. It's a really interesting game. I kind of love it, but everything about this cover screamed to me like this is going to be the rarest game on the Switch. I mean, look at it. It looks insane. So I imported it from Japan. I paid more than retail for it. It was expensive to import it, and I paid $57.89. So how much is it worth now? Apparently you can go on eBay right now and buy a copy for $40, which I would advise you to do. It may be in surplus now, but it won't be forever. And those shoot 'em ups just go up and up and up, and zany games tend to just go up and up and up. And people are still sleeping on this one. So it's dropped in value, but I'm confident, I'm confident that it's gonna keep going back up. I'm even right sometimes. If you're enjoying the content thus far and you wanna see more of me, hit that subscribe button down below and hit the bell notification so you know when the new videos come out. They come out at least every Saturday. Also leave a comment, I'll answer it. And give me a thumbs up. That's the best way to help me in the YouTube algorithm. You guys know how much I love shoot 'em ups. I buy like every one of them that comes out that I know about. So when NG Dev announced they were releasing a copy of this, and it was gonna be physical only and there was gonna be no digital version available, you better believe I set my clock to wake up and order this thing as soon as it went on sale, and it sold out fast. I knew this was gonna be super rare. I just knew it. It's Rayon EX. And I did open this up and I played it. Of course, everybody complained about it being physical only because they couldn't get a copy. So NG Dev reprinted it and they released a digital copy online. So you can play this, but I bet this is still kind of expensive. I had to import this all the way from Germany and it cost $77.05 with import fees and shipping and all that. I think it was about $60 and then maybe 17 or so to ship it. Seems about right. So how much is it worth open? Let's look. It's worth $185. I'm surprised it's that high, to tell you the truth. I thought it would be around $100 because, like I said, they've reprinted it. They did, the second printing was like they did a bigger collector's edition with a statue and stuff. I don't know what that's worth, but this first printing, $185. That's pretty good. I'm doing pretty well with these. I'm happy that I was able to predict the rarity of these, or at least their value, somewhat. I had this game on the NES when I was a kid, and no one ever mentioned it. No one that came over ever wanted to play it. And when I started collecting, and even before then, when I would go into like retro game stores, I would look for copies of this game and I would ask the store clerks if they had it. Most of them would say things like, I've never heard of that, or, oh man, that's a rare game. So when I started collecting for realsies, this is one I went out of my way to get right away, and I wanted a complete in box version. It's Crash and the Boys Street Challenge. This is from the Kunio-kun series, which is like River City Ransom and Super Dodgeball. And it's a bunch of like punk kids competing in street Olympics. Like they're like doing the hurdles and they're, you know, running and sprinting and stuff. It's a track and field game, but it takes place in the city. And it's really cheap. You can like punch your opponents and things like that and throw things at them. It's a really fun game and I loved it. And I knew it would be valuable. So when I first started collecting, it wasn't as expensive as it is now, I'm sure. I paid $18 for a complete in box version of this. That's crazy for an NES game, like ever in the history of the NES, 18 bucks. What's it worth now? It's worth $112. That's pretty good. I mean, that's not crazy for a boxed NES game, and this game's still kind of like flying under everyone's radar, but I think it's a really good game, and it is pretty uncommon. Still, I'm glad I was right about that one. I could just tell, I knew in my heart that this was going to be hard to find one day, and it always has been. I don't think I've seen any other complete in box versions in the last 15 years. There was this really cool beat 'em up game that was released digitally on the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One and the Switch called Castle Crashers. And I bought it and I played it like crazy. Luckily, they've just come out with a physical version of that. I think it just shipped today. So I'm glad to have that. The company that made Castle Crashers is called The Behemoth, and I think they have a really cool, fun art style and really good gameplay. The game before Castle Crashers came out on the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube and the Xbox, and it was called Alien Hominid. So after I played Castle Crashers, I decided to go find a physical copy of Alien Hominid, and I did. It still has the price on it, and it's sealed. So how much should I pay for it? Well, the price says $21.99, but I actually talked them down to $19.22. I think that must have been like $17.50 or something plus tax. I don't know. That's what this was going for when I went to find it. A sealed copy was 20 bucks. What's it worth now? $171. I want to play this. I can't open it. I'd just be throwing away like $100. If anybody out there wants a sealed copy of this and you have an open copy in decent shape, message me in the comments and you can trade me out of this. Give me your open copy and a few other goodies and you can have this sealed copy. I saw this sitting on a shelf in a GameStop. I was really into the PSP at the time and I thought this was going to be like an RPG. Turns out it's a visual novel where you play as a female trying to date guys. There's a name for that. I forget what it's called, like female visual novel male dating games. I beat it twice. I played all the way through it. I romanced the two guys I liked the most on each playthrough. It was a fun game. And I think it was the first visual novel I ever finished as well. But it's Hakuoki, Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. Is that right? Demon of the Fleeting Blossom? Oh well. I mean, it looks freaking awesome. Tell me that doesn't look like an awesome game. It was cool, but like you just read and make decisions. It's a visual novel. That's what they're all like, pretty much. So how much should I pay for this? I paid $44. It was 40 bucks plus tax. Okay, I have a feeling it's probably worth a lot more than that. It's not, it's worth 38 bucks. So it held its value more or less. I'm sure it would have been more if I kept it sealed, but I do see this around, not the collector's edition, but like the open PSP copies of this. I'm surprised it's not worth more. They can't all be winners. Well, all right, guys, there are 10 more games I was just sure were going to be rare and expensive. How did I do? I don't know. I'll have to put it in editing, but this is how much I spent, and this is how much it's all worth. I don't have to add it up to know that I did really well on this video because There's several games worth like hundreds of dollars. I didn't spend really over $100 on any of them except for Zelda. So I think I did pretty well on this one. And I didn't look them up beforehand. I just remembered these and I kind of just walked around the room and grabbed some off the shelf. I've done this enough times where I could probably make dozens of videos about this. And I know I just did one about a month ago, but people seem to like it and I enjoyed doing this. It's a fun video to do to see how I did and to see if like I'm as smart as I think I am. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it, guys. I'm thrilled with all the support on this channel, and I would like to take this as an opportunity to thank the channel members and Patreons. You can see their names on the screen right now. If you'd like to get your name on the screen, leave a message on the screen, or sponsor part of a video, you can do that by going down to the description below and becoming a channel member, or you can find me on Patreon under RNG Gamer. Thanks so much. Every dollar goes right back to this channel. And I really appreciate that, guys. I really do. And I'll catch you next time.